Hey everybody, this is a video I've been thinking about doing for a long time. I probably have at least a couple hundred hours into this game now after playing just obsessively for quite some time, especially after the release of the Scorched Earth DLC. I'm gonna do a couple different videos. This first one's gonna actually be advanced tactics for the Germans and kind of what units you should look at, what units you shouldn't. I'm doing this because if you go through the painful process of unlocking the research tree, I don't want you guys to waste resources on things that are just crap. And when you do that, it delays you from getting to the really good stuff. So I'm trying to kind of save you on that. And I want to show you how to use these units effectively and kind of what an offensive battle and defensive battle layout would look like. So let's just jump right in. Something that never changes for me is call sign 1. I will stand by Fallschirmjäger infantry, hands down. I've unlocked other infantry types. They just don't stand up compared to these guys. They have excellent damage output. They can take a lot of damage. Super reliable, super tough. One of the main reasons why I choose them, they have 2 machine gunners with them, and a sniper, and a grenade launcher as well. So really versatile. Of course, they don't have any anti-tank options other than maybe throwing grenades, but you really should not be relying on your infantry to clear out tanks. If you're doing that, then you're either in a rough spot where you've lost all your tanks, or you're just doing it wrong. So my first call sign, I never, ever, ever change offensive or defensive. It's 2 Fallschirmjägers, 1 officer. My next one, this can change based on the battle. So for an offensive battle, what I will traditionally do is I bring a supply truck. I'll do a Panther, and this is the late Panther, the best one you can unlock, which I believe is the G version right here. And a Whirlwind. I want to take a quick note on the Whirlwind. This is a Scorched Earth DLC unit. Kind of want to note that for you. It is absolutely amazing at obliterating infantry and aircraft. So on an offensive battle, I will use this unit to screen ahead and clear out infantry that are left behind. 4 cannons, explosive shells. You could imagine what that looks like. I kind of discovered this later on and never messed with it. I think it was this particular campaign. I'm 53 days into the operations. I kind of unlocked it and messed with it around 40, and I wish I had it the entire time. This is something you want to go for pretty quickly. It really does a great job at killing infantry. And then I filled in the extra spot here with a Panzerschreck team. I had 4 points left. I know I just said if you're using infantry to clear out stuff, you're probably doing it wrong. I honestly just threw this in so I had something. Do I ever really use them? No. I'll sometimes place them at points defensively and see if they can ambush a tank that kind of comes up. But would I ever try to use them to just run up to a tank? No. Chances are they're going to get obliterated doing that. So this call sign can also change. If I'm in a defensive battle, I will absolutely take this unit. I will drop it out, and I will bring in a flak cannon. And then I will also bring in this spotlight. And then I'll probably throw in an extra Panzerschreck team just for laughs. Or I could also throw in an engineering team. This will be based on your playstyle. So the flak cannon, really and truly, I'll probably use this more for maybe an extra anti-tank defense at a point further back in the line, or also to take out any kind of planes. This guy right here, the spotlight, what's really amazing about it is, and I don't know if this is a glitch in the game, maybe I'm missing something, you guys can correct me in the comments. Whenever I deploy this, I never see enemy planes. Like, never. It'll say an enemy plane comes in, I never see it, nothing ever happens. That's number 1. Number 2, it's able to spot and clear up fog of war at huge distances, which if you're setting up a defensive point, especially if you're going to use some of the units I'll show you later on for defensive battles, you're going to want to have a massive field of view so you can hit enemy tanks before they can see you. Really great for that. So for now, though, I am going to put this back to what I had. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop my Panther back in there. And yeah, we'll leave it alone for that. This is since we're doing an offensive battle. Call sign 3. I will change this out depending on defensive or offensive. Offensive, 2 Tigers, and I believe it's the the E version of the Tiger tanks. They are super heavy, take a ton of damage, can pretty much one-shot most tanks except for super heavy. Really, really reliable. I recommend these for offensive. Defensive, there is nothing better to kill tanks than the Jad Tiger. Hands down, nothing. I mean, I have not run into one unit in this game that can do better than these guys, including the King Tiger tanks. These things will snipe tanks out from massive distances. They will kill everything, but like pretty much almost everything at one shot. Maybe a super heavy will take a couple if it's glancing blows. But wow, this guy obliterates enemy armor. So since we're doing an offensive, I'm gonna put my other tanks back. I don't recommend them for an offensive battle. Honestly, they're super slow moving, which for defensive it works out fine. Offensive, not so much. I mean, it takes them a while to move around. They suck against infantry. That's one thing to know. I would not. I would always have them supported with something to defend against infantry. This call sign, I never change. I kind of changed my strategy recently where I used to use the 15 cm version of these guns and only two of them. I've switched to using three of these kind of medium guns and three supply trucks to support them. So I'll explain a little bit about this. Throughout my hours and hours, hundreds of hours of playing this game, I've unlocked everything. I've used rockets. I've used these guys. I've used the heavier guns. And I'll just be brutally honest with you. Ammo usage for the heavier guns is way too much. They fire super slow, and I honestly think they suck. You can lay down a lot more fire and a lot more damage with these medium guns. I mean, I wouldn't even bother unlocking anything beyond there. To just being brutally honest with you, I would go to here and stop. Unless you want to get the mortar, which we'll talk a little bit about this guy later on. Rockets are fun. They sound cool. They suck at distance. I mean, you pretty much have to run them right up to a point to use them. Reload times are long, incredibly inaccurate. Yes, I know, they do a ton of damage. I understand that. But when you start chewing through 4,000 plus points of ammunition every battle, this 20,000 goes away pretty quickly. And you're scrounging for ammo, and they're just not worth the output. So this is what I recommend. My last call sign never changes. Offensive, defensive. Now you're going to probably ask me, why do I have so many supply trucks? I will sometimes switch out units. Like I'll go back to here, and on a rare occasion, for an offensive battle, I will yank out a supply truck and maybe the Panther, and I'll throw in the mortar. The mortar is a really nice unit, but it also requires a lot of ammo, so I'll bring extra supply trucks along. I also bring them along in case something gets knocked out or I need to move a unit around, especially for a defensive battle. If I need to move a flak cannon, I'll kind of swing that around. In this case, I'm just going to leave it alone. I mean, it's just filling in extra points. It's not really anything good where a 6-point choice would really matter. I guess you could throw a Panzerschreck team in there again, like we discussed. I mean, offensively, they're absolutely horrible to use. I wouldn't recommend them, so we'll just leave this alone. But I always bring King Tigers, offensive, defensive. Amazing tank. Huge distances they can wipe stuff out at. Really heavy cannon. Overall, another solid choice for you here. So that's kind of the layout of the land. You notice there's only really two call signs. I'll mess around and change things based on a defensive or offensive battle. The rest is just pretty much going to be I'll use these units the same way and kind of move forward. So we're in an offensive choice here. I am going to look around. Now, this is a choice that I typically make. I will go through here and I will pick what kind of battle I'm going to do. Resources at this point don't really matter, especially when you're in this late game. I just want to have fun. This is one of my most favorite maps of all time, especially defensive. This is a blast. When you set up points on this road, and you can set up like flak cannons or the Jad Tigers, you decimate the enemy. So I'm probably going to go with this one, but I want to see what they're offering. Yeah, I hate this map. So we're going to go here. I'm going to choose this one here, and I'm just going to give you guys an example. Before I jump in, one quick note on aircraft and airstrikes. I use them rarely. I don't go out of my way to earn points to unlock them. Are they fun? Sure. Are they effective? Meh. Most of the time you're going to probably use them to try to knock out a tank during a defensive battle. The tank's going to move by the time the plane gets there. So, overall, don't really mess with this. If I get the points, great. I'll bring them in and use them as a oh crap button if things get really sticky. But otherwise, I don't really care to use them. So, all right, let's dive in. Let's take a look and kind of see what this looks like and how to use these units and kind of my strategy with the Germans when playing an offensive battle. So, again, guys, in the comments, please drop any kind of opinions, thoughts. If you're thinking I'm missing out a unit here or something, or you think the facts are wrong, you're saying that there's something way better out there, just let me know. Like I would love to kind of get your opinions and ideas on this. This again is just my own personal experience and my play style, which is typically more of like a heavy armor battalion type play. I prefer heavy tanks, move quickly. I don't want this to be a long drawn out thing where I'm taking an hour to clear the map. That's not how I want to play this game. So, all right, cool. Your next important step here is going to be, what do you call in first? This can define a battle. I typically will call in artillery first. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually set up my guns to point at the first point. Point at the first point. That's kind of funny. Point at the first location that I want to strike. So in this case, it's the closest one here. I'm going to probably aim to take this one here, which is one of the most annoying points in this map to take, ironically. That little trench can be really irritating to deal with. So we're going to deploy our guns outward. I'm going to bring up the trucks right behind so they're able to supply ammo. Now with these medium guns, I already mentioned this, you're pretty much not going to run out of ammunition unless, I mean, you're playing this map for an hour or two, or you're battling for an hour or two, which you probably shouldn't. If you're doing that, then maybe something's wrong with the strategy you're using or the units. But I'm going to use this call sign next. So I bring in my 2 Tiger tanks. So what I like to typically do is I will loosen up the enemy with an artillery barrage, and you'll see why having 3 guns is so effective. We know, based on experience, you've been playing this game for a while, that units are going to hover around these sandbags here. So I'm going to start off with the outer ring, see if I can get these guns to open up. And I want to show you what happens when you're using 3 guns in comparison to using just 2 or 1. So probably won't fire. Let's try that. So what we're looking for is kills. I already knocked out 1 infantry. That's great. And what I'm also doing, if you notice, is I selected all 3 guns, and I'm doing the attack ground option, and I'm telling these guns where to fire. Now, if you've played this game for a while, you also kind of probably realize this game requires a lot of micromanagement. It's not like Company of Heroes. You can just send your units in, and they'll take care of stuff. And while these guns are firing, I am going to move my tanks forward to begin clearing this position out. The quicker you can move to clear positions, the better, because as you know, as time goes on, enemy units will start coming into the map, and then you have to contend with them before you even get to the position. Another note for late game, you've probably run into this, I know I have. One of the worst things in the world is to lose a tank to a flamethrower. I can't tell you how many times this has happened. It is extremely frustrating. It drives me absolutely crazy. And when you're sending your tanks forward, especially unsupported with infantry, you're going to want to micromanage them like I am right now. You need to keep your eyes on them and pay attention if they spot units. It takes 1 guy with a flamethrower to wipe out a Tiger tank in a matter of like seconds. I mean, drives me absolutely berserk, but you know, I guess it makes sense. I mean, the flame would probably clear out a tank for sure. So we're going to keep moving these guns back, keep their fire sustained, and we're going to move our tanks in to clear this position out. So he has an SVT anti-tank gun. I'm not really worried about that with a Tiger tank. What you can watch out for is you'll notice these Tiger tanks have guys on the machine gun turret up top. I would probably have them go down so they don't get killed. As you can tell, he's already taking fire. So as you're seeing here, the tanks are already laying down some really good fire. There's going to be no rocket launcher or Panzerschreck teams normally at defensive points early on in the game, so I don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to let them do their work, and I'm going to use them as spotters to move my artillery fire forward. Now I'm not going to actually play through the whole battle, because this is really a rinse and repeat kind of method that I'm using here. I am going to call in the second call, or I think it's call sign 3. And I'm going to bring that whirlwind forward. I want to show you what happens when this guy comes into play. The Panther I'm going to pretty much leave in reserve, or I might move it forward to support the Tiger tanks. And of course our supply truck we're going to bring over here. But this guy is absolutely a ridiculous and amazing unit. Can't go toe-to-toe with tanks, which is why you need to have tanks supporting it. It will absolutely be annihilated or one-shotted by the heavier tanks. But I am actually going to drive this tank, and I'm going to just kind of show you what happens when you fire it. Of course, I managed to hit every tree in the entire game while I'm doing it, so that's perfect. So, of course, you see the Panther has the same thing. It has a guy on the machine gun turret on top. I'll be real with you guys, most of the time I just have those guys go down into the tank. They're going to get killed, and the amount of fire they provide is not that impressive. So, let me show you what this looks like. Now, these are explosive rounds that I'm just raking this position with right now. As you can tell, incredibly effective. I am keeping an eye on when the enemy's coming in. I noticed that they're coming in from the north there. So I'm going to move this Tiger tank to block just in case a tank comes. And I'll move the Panther to block as well. And there's actually more coming in. Perfect. So, rinse and repeat. I'm going to move the artillery barrages forward. I'm going to move tanks onto the position. We're going to take the position, capture it. Bam, that's it, done. So one key point I forgot to mention is what to do with your other call signs here. You know, I think that this is going to be up to your playstyle again. But for example, the infantry, I would use them defensively. So I'd probably just drop one squad at one point as you capture it and just keep moving forward is what I would traditionally do. And then of course your King Tiger tanks. Just more armor to move up and to push positions, and also you can drop, like as you start capturing more and more positions with the 4 especially, you'll leave a squad of infantry and maybe one Tiger tank. And then move to the next position and clear it out and leave one squad of infantry and a Tiger tank. When you deal with these two positions here, you could just easily knock both of them out pretty quickly together. So that's what I would do with the call signs. Again, totally depends on your play style. It's whatever you want to do and how you want to handle it. But again, we'll leave that up to you. So let's dive right into a defensive battle. I kind of want to show you what that looks like. Alright, so I wanted to show you a defensive battle now, and we kind of talked about what units we were already going to use. I did make one minor change on, I think it's call sign 2. I brought a machine gun, MG42, just for laughs. So I brought a flak cannon, the spotlight, a truck, and an MG42. Again, playstyle, whatever you want to do. From like you saw from the previous offensive battle, while I didn't play through it the entire way, you saw how aggressive those units can be, and how quickly we just overcame that position. And that map and battle lasted about 20 minutes in total, based on what I had. So, you know, you're going to see the defensive battle now and how this plays out. And a lot of the strategy that I also use is sometimes you'll see on these maps, there are certain points that are just not worth defending. You know, they're either way out in the middle of nowhere, or they are just not a really good defendable position. So we're going to take a look at this map. This is not one of my favorites. I don't like this one. It's not great for armor, for sure. And let's take a peek here. Guessing the enemy's going to probably come in from the northwest. Up over here is a possibility of the southwest, but I sort of doubt it based on the way the positions are. So in a defensive battle, what I like to typically call in first is going to be my artillery again, because I need to get those in position in order to defend against enemy guns that kind of come into the battlefield, which is another thing I probably should have mentioned in the offensive battle. Your artillery is great for clearing positions, but it's also great for picking off enemy anti-tank guns or artillery that they decide to deploy as well. So it does a great job of kind of clearing those out. So I hate when it does this. The old-fashioned glitch of not picking up the gun when it's right next to it. There we go. Alright, cool. So where would you place your artillery? In this map, believe it or not, you can go in the water. So I'm going to place it central to my defensive positions. Now this is a bit risky because if they do attack from the northwest, I might actually have my artillery exposed. So I'm going to have them come a little bit further south. There we go. So the next call sign I'm going to actually bring in is I'm actually going to bring in these Jad Tigers. They take a while to move, like I mentioned. So we don't want a long delay for these to kind of come onto the battlefield. Looking at this position here, I'm not going to place them in the woods up ahead. Pretty risky in case enemy infantry kind of come in, but I will move them kind of forward. Move this one here forward on the road. Hopefully catch any enemy armor coming down the road. And I'm going to place this one, and this is an interesting position. They probably could come from both sides. So I'm actually going to put it here, facing this way, and I'll deploy my flak cannon that comes in next call sign here, facing this way. I'm going to think about this a little bit more. You know what? I'm going to put the Jet Tiger here, and I'll put the flak cannon on the other side. These decisions will make or break your defensive battle, as you know. If you put a unit in a bad position, it takes a while to move, especially stuff like this, artillery or flak guns, forget about it. I mean, moving them in the middle of a battle, I don't want to say is impossible, but you're going to have a really bad time dealing with that. So, with artillery, it's always about placing it centralized to your position so it can cover all positions at the same time. That's really the name of the game here. You want to make sure that you can provide artillery support to take out clusters of enemy infantry. There's going to be a lot of micromanaging your artillery, like as always, of course. I also like to rotate the guns facing where I think the enemy will come, so there's not a delay, because as you know with artillery, it takes a hot minute for that stuff to kind of get into position and rotate. So move that truck around here, rotate the gun. So this is what I was talking about, offensive battles. Can you imagine waiting for this thing to come into position? Probably not. Defensively, amazing. Like, yes, please, I will take this. So we got about less than 2 minutes before the enemy starts coming in, and I'm saving up for this call sign right here, which I'm actually going to take one of my trucks and preemptively bring it down here where the units come in, because I'm going to have to grab that spotlight. I totally forgot I don't have enough trucks to grab that off the bat. So we'll actually be lucky that this gets in position in time. That's how long these things take, but again, they're well worth well worth it. So this Whirlwind, I'm probably going to deploy. I'm going to deploy it here because I have a feeling there's going to be probably a lot of enemy infantry coming in. Or you know what? I don't want to leave it exposed to enemy fire. So yeah, we'll start there. Let's get this flak gun in place. And I'm going to actually bring this machine gun nest right here. One thing that you do have to be ready to do is react, and there's certain units you can react with. That's why I have my King Tiger tanks. Those are my reactive kind of, oh no, things are not going well, I better move them to a different position. They're not the fastest units, but they're also not the slowest. You know, moving guns, like I said, only in extreme emergencies would I move my artillery, like if it's really exposed and taking heavy fire. And then of course, where's that truck? Here it is. We're going to get that spotlight in position. Now this can all go sideways, and knowing my luck, it probably will if they all start coming in here. That will make things really interesting to deal with. They may not even come in from the northwest. I've had this happen. If you guys know, by the way, how to tell where units are going to come from, drop it in the comments. Let me know. I never can tell really where they're going to come from. I have a generalized guess, just kind of based off my experience of playing the game, but it's never 100% accurate. So I might have been right here. I think northwest is going to be the name of the game here. And with that being said, I am going to move my Jad Tiger over there to deal with that. And I'm probably also going to bring in this Whirlwind to actually go here. And let's start laying down some artillery fire. Oh boy, there's already a heavy tank coming in. IS-2s are extremely dangerous. I am going to make a video on the Russian side as well, which I honestly think playing the Russians is much easier than playing the Germans. Especially, you'll see why later on in that video. But, so we're laying down a screen of artillery, and I'm already engaged in this IS-2 in hopes that I can wipe it out before it starts causing any real significant damage. I'm going to deploy this spotlight kind of behind the lines here. I could bring it up here. I'm not going to. Not worth it. I need to get that truck back into position to give ammo for my artillery. Look at that. That's an IS-2, ladies and gentlemen, knocked out very quickly. This is why these things are just, they're god-tier weapons. We are going to move this gun forward a little bit. I'm going to send this truck back to the line. And we'll deploy that and send this truck back over here. I am going to rotate the truck to kind of face out over here. Look at this distance. This is what I was talking about. That's how far I can kind of see out, just in case they try to flank us. Now we're going to want to engage that for sure. Sometimes I will micro tanks. I don't always recommend this. In my other videos, you probably remember me saying don't do that. It's a waste of time. It really is not the best way to handle it, but sometimes it's worth doing. So I did not adjust these guns. They're still firing in the same position. I'm going to leave it alone because there seems to be... see, I knew there'd be somebody coming over there. They seem to be really coming in heavy from the west. So let's just rotate this over here. That whirlwind is just wrecking enemy infantry coming in. I am going to hold the artillery. Oh, there's an enemy machine gun. Let's hit that instead. Hopefully that's not too far out. Now if it is, we'll be able to move these guns forward a little bit to kind of engage the outer rim here. It's not, thank goodness. Alright. Now I normally do bring engineers, and I don't know why I didn't this time. Because I would have probably dug a tank defensive position here to let this Jad Tiger be nice and tucked in. I'm going to take a risk here. We're going to move this Jad Tiger here. Because I don't think anything is going to come in from this area, and this position's pretty well protected. You notice I do have a call sign open, ready to go. It's infantry. I'm not going to bring them in. That'll be one of the last call signs I bring in. I want to bring in my King Tigers to deal with the enemy enemy tanks that have been pouring in. Let's move that artillery to engage. So you're kind of you're seeing a pattern here, a strategy of what I'm doing. The artillery I use it to really clear out either enemy artillery guns, machine guns, anti-tank guns, or I use it to wipe out infantry like this. When you're playing the Germans, the main Russian tactic, which is historically accurate, is mass infantry charges. And they don't do so well against artillery. It's kind of a rock, paper, scissors situation. Now they're trying to move in to flank that position, so I do want to make sure I can hit this enemy infantry. Oof, my whirlwind was hit pretty hard. We're going to tuck it back. Get it off the line and get it repaired. Alright, we're going to actually send in a King Tiger here to help defend this position. Now I'm going to send one here. And I don't know what that... Oh, really? Ugh, anti-tank infantry. The bane of my existence here. Like I said, these are not the best at engaging enemy infantry, so I am going to slide this off to the side and get it out of the way. We have more infantry amassing at the west, trying to cross the bridge. Oh, not let me select. Actually, let's head across the bridge. They'll probably make it across by the time. I'm going to have this guy start repairing. Now, you will notice part of the call sign, I actually do get a... I have some extra tank forces to... for this kind of situation, this is supposed to have a four-man crew. It only has two because of being hit with anti-tank weaponry. So I am going to go ahead and use those guys to refill the ranks. And I probably should have switched this truck out for a engineering truck. Like I said, I prefer usually to have engineering forces coming in. Now my infantry, what am I going to do with them? I'm going to probably drop a squad here, and I'm going to drop a squad here. This seems to be the main focal point for the battle, so we are going to in fact continue using this as the linchpin to our defense. And you kind of see why 3 guns is just the absolute way to go here. It's so much firepower you can bring down on a position. You really just level the enemy. Actually, I want you here instead. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. So this is repaired. It is a little undermanned, but I am still going to bring it forward. Now I'm going to bring this flak gun forward too. This Jad Panther isn't in the best position, just because it's kind of... it doesn't have a clear sight of view here, but the reason I'm doing that, or line of sight, what am I saying, sight of view? The reason I'm doing that is I'm trying not to expose it to any kind of fire off from the side there. We do have an enemy gun, looks like a mortar. Here it is. So we're going to hit that there. That is a big mortar. I don't know what kind it is, but hopefully we can take that out. There it is. Now I know the position. Perfect. This is heavily exposed. I'm going to pull this back. Actually going to probably set it up right here. So again, I have this guy. I normally would have this guy button up, but because they're just dealing with infantry right now, I think they're going to be okay at a pretty decent distance. These tank men, I'm going to have them start filling in the ranks of this Ostwind so it fires more effectively. Remember, when these are not crewed properly, their efficiency of fire and everything, it's reduced on a percentage. Like that one's probably at 50% before I have these guys jump in. Man, that thing is finally, jeez. So this is what I was talking about with the enemy bomber. So check this out, guys. Spotlight, I'm telling you, I think this is the reason why. Maybe I'm wrong. It never shows up. Never comes, never see it, never worry about it. Like, absolutely happy. No, that's already knocked out. Perfect. So, we're playing whack-a-mole. We're just using artillery to hit clusters of infantry to hopefully suppress them or wipe them out. I am going to rotate these guns now to deal with this mass infantry across the bridge. It was actually probably this King Tiger that knocked out the enemy tank that came across here. So I'm going to bring this guy as well over here. So as you're seeing, this battle's pretty much almost wrapped up. You know, it's going to last maybe 16, 17 minutes. I've also noticed the more damage you inflict on an enemy army, the quicker the battle ends. So things are usually over pretty quickly when you're wiping out most of the units that are coming in. And that's pretty much what we're doing here. And you can also see this is pretty much why I choose these heavy units. And I'm always keeping an eye out for that symbol. That is a gun. We want to wipe that out with artillery as quickly as possible. That is the greatest risk to our tanks and flak positions and other guns and weapons that we have. Can I hit this guy? I think it's the buildings in the way. Let's screen this forward a little bit. See if I can shoot around. We're going to deal with that as well, but let's make sure this gets killed first. That is an anti-tank gun. It's a light one, but it's still a risk. I don't know why this is not firing, but I'll go ahead and take care of that. Alright, so we're done. We won. As you can see here, I mean, that was not even sweaty. That was super, super simple. And honestly, it's not based on skill. It really, for me, it's the units. When you choose the right units for the battle, it's easy. I mean, we just wiped the floor with the enemy there. You will notice one thing that's a little scary. This normally will be anywhere from 1,600 to about 4,000, depending on the units you're using, depending on the battle. But, I mean, take a look at our losses here. I mean, nobody. We're good. We're solid. I didn't even call in the infantry. That's how well that battle went. So hopefully this helps, guys. I'm planning on releasing my next video pretty soon on the kind of the Soviet perspective of how to handle things. Let me know if you have any questions or if you have any videos you want me to make. Absolutely, just drop it in the comments. Have a good one. Take it easy, guys.